Hi, my name is Randi, and I teach puppetry here at Evergreen Cultural Center. Today, we're going to learn how to make our own do-it-yourself found object puppets. So, let's get started. To make your puppet, you will need a big square or rectangle of fabric. This fabric can be pretty much anything if you have some scrap fabric lying around, or you could also use a dishcloth or a towel. You'll also need some elastic bands, and this will help us give our puppet some structure and features. If you like, you can get some decorations for your puppet too, like maybe some googly eyes, fun fur, pipe cleaners, whatever you like, whatever you can imagine. If you are decorating your puppet, you'll also need hot glue or white glue, or if you don't have any glue, maybe some tape to stick your decorations on. So, to make your puppet, grab a piece of fabric. I'm going to use this big green piece of fabric and your elastic bands, and start experimenting with that piece of fabric. You can try tying knots, maybe bunching up parts of it and using the elastic band to make a face or arms and legs. I think I'm going to make a face here. It's important for your puppet to have a face somewhere where its eyes are, its nose are. That helps with the puppetry. It helps show what the puppet is looking at. Oh yeah, pretty good little face. Okay, so I'm going to try to give my puppet some legs or some kind of way that it can move around. So I'll tie a couple of knots in my puppet and see how that goes. So while you're making your puppet, it doesn't have to look like a person, it doesn't have to look like an animal that exists in the world. It can be an alien or a completely new creature, whatever you're inspired by. Okay, I think that's pretty good. We've got two kind of legs. We've got a face so that we know where the puppet's looking. If you're choosing to decorate your puppet, now's the time. So I'm going to give my puppet some eyeballs. Got two googly eyes. That will help everyone see what my puppet is looking at. If you're using hot glue and you've got little fingers, you might want to get some help from a grown-up. There we go. What do you think? Cute little eyes. And I've got this pink fur, so I think I'm going to give my puppet a hairstyle with this pink fur. Awesome. Now, the great thing about doing these do-it-yourself found object puppets is that you don't really need to have any special equipment at home. You can make these puppets out of pretty much any pieces of fabric or whatever you have lying around. Okay. This puppet's got like a crazy pink mane and some crazy eyes. I think this is pretty good. All right. Now that your puppet is ready to go, let's get started on some found object puppetry. But what is found object puppetry, and how is it different than regular puppetry? Found object puppetry is a very special kind of puppetry because it uses things, everyday items that weren't meant to be puppets, as puppets. So our found object puppets were made out of a scrap of fabric, not something you'd normally think of as a puppet. Other found object puppets can be made out of things like cutlery, vegetables, anything you have lying around the house can be made into a puppet with just a few simple tricks. To get started with our puppetry skills, we're going to warm up. To start, let's drop one ear towards our shoulder and roll our neck around. Imagine that you have a little marker or something on the tip of your nose and you're drawing a really big circle right in front of you. We'll relax our shoulders and warm up our neck with this. Great. Let's do nice big shoulder rolls in one direction and then the other direction. Puppetry, just like dance and acting, martial arts, sports, uses a lot of special muscles, so we want to warm them up before we get started. All right, reach one arm across, the other one goes underneath, and then points to the sky. We'll stretch our shoulder a little bit. Let's try the other side. Reach your arm across your body. The other one goes underneath and then points to the sky. Great. Let's give our hands a little bit of a warm-up. So interlace your fingers and stretch them away from your body. Stretch the inside of your palm gently. And we'll stretch the top of our wrist a little bit by gently pulling our fingers back towards us. And the other side. And we'll strengthen our fingers a little bit by imagining we're grabbing something from the air. And then we'll flick it away. Flick, flick, flick as firmly and hard as you can. And then grab something and then flick it away. And then give those hands a shake. Give your shoulders a shake. Take a deep breath in and sigh. 2 more times. Deep breath in and sigh. And 1 more time. Deep breath in and sigh. Okay, I think we're ready to do some puppetry. A puppeteer has several tools in their toolbox to make their puppet come alive. And today we're going to practice 3 of those tools: focus, weight, and breath. Let's start with focus. Focus has 2 parts to it: your focus as the puppeteer and the puppet's focus. The puppeteer should always look at their puppet. You don't want your puppet to be doing something rogue while you're not looking at it. Maybe it's wandering away, it's going to disappear. You want to make sure that you know what your puppet is doing, and the best way to do that is to look at your puppet. The second part is that puppet's focus. It helps your audience understand the story if your puppet looks at specific things. When the puppet is looking at the thing it's thinking about or having an idea about, the audience knows what's happening. If your puppet's kind of just gazing around, not very specific, it's a lot harder to tell what's going on in the story. So let's practice our focus and the puppet's focus. To start, look at your puppet. You can kind of look at the back of the puppet's head and have the puppet look around, left, right, maybe up, down, in a big circle. Choose something in the room and have your puppet look at that. And then look away and look at that. If you have someone around that might be able to help you, you can practice with them. Have your puppet look at that person, look away, and look at that person. They can help you tell if the puppet's really looking at what you want it to look at. Some puppets, where their eyes are, where their nose is, it's a little bit harder to be really specific about where they're looking. So having someone help you practice that skill can be really handy. Let's try one more time. Look left, look right, look up, look down, all the way around. Maybe look at something in the room and away. Something else and away. Maybe the puppet looks at itself, up at the sky, at you. Oh, hi. How's that feel? Pretty easy, right? The next tool in the puppeteer's toolkit is the puppet's weight. One of the things that lets us know something is alive is that it's fighting against gravity. It has to lift its body to move. When your puppet doesn't have a relationship with gravity, when it's not, doesn't have any weight, when it's not heavy, it doesn't look quite as alive. It kind of floats. It's not as specific. And you want your puppet to be very specific to make it really seem alive. So imagine that your puppet is a little bit heavy. And when it walks around, or maybe jumps around, it needs to feel the weight. It needs to fight against gravity. So let's give that a try. Have your puppet walk around and think about how much it weighs, how it has to lift its leg in order to move around. Let's try a couple jumps maybe. Jump. And something that can really, a little trick that can really help you catch that idea of gravity is that when your puppet jumps, it needs to bend its knees, straighten out, land, and when it lands, it starts by bending its knees and then straightening up. Let's try that a couple times. Bend your knees, jump, bend your knees and straighten up. Bend your knees, jump, bend your knees and straighten up. Not so bad, hey? The third tool in the puppeteer's toolkit that we'll practice is breath. Breath gives your puppet a lot of life, a lot of emotion. It shows thoughts and ideas and discoveries. So to start, let's just have a nice, gentle, simple breath with your puppet. Breathing in and breathing out. You want to move your puppet just a little bit while it's breathing so the audience can see that breath. And it can help too if you, as the puppeteer, breathe as well. Let's try a couple more gentle breaths. Nice. So breaths also give ideas and discoveries. So let's try that out. Have your puppet see something and then take a breath in like this. And then the audience will really see that discovery. So see something? Try a couple more things. There's something over there and something over there. You can take a breath in every time. Breathing can also show internal discoveries, so thoughts that your puppet has. So maybe it's kind of daydreaming a little bit and it goes, makes a big discovery or solves a problem, figures something out. Let's try that again. Looking around, sort of not at anything in particular, and then, oh my gosh, I had a realization. So the breath can give the thought process of the puppetry, those discoveries, those ideas, but it also can give emotion. So imagine what it's like when you're really happy. What is your breath like when you're happy? Let's try that. And how about if you're maybe really tired, like you've run a really long way? Or really sad, maybe really lonesome. While you're practicing this breath, thinking about those other two tools in our toolbox, your focus looking at the puppet and what the puppet's looking at, as well as the puppet's weight. So while it's breathing, it's not just starting to kind of levitate and float away. Although, depending on your story, maybe your puppet does suddenly start to float away. Who knows? Let's try a couple more emotions, like maybe, what does it sound like if your puppet is really afraid? Oh. Or what if they're feeling really peaceful? All of these different breath rhythms and sounds can give your puppet a whole emotional arc on its story. All right, now that we have these 3 tools in our toolbox, focus, weight, and breath, we're going to take our puppet on a little adventure. So put your puppet to sleep in its little house, and don't forget the puppet should be breathing even while it's asleep, otherwise it might look like it's dead. So taking a nice sleeping breath, maybe a snore. And we hear the birds chirping, and it's morning. So what does it look like when your puppet wakes up from a nice deep sleep? Maybe it does a big morning stretch. Oh, my puppet's really hungry. I don't know about yours, but I think it's time for some breakfast. So take your puppet on a little walk to find its breakfast. And it's its favorite food, its favorite breakfast, so it's really happy. Ooh. And then what does it look like when your puppet eats? I think this one's kind of a messy eater. Oh, my puppet's thirsty now. Oh, it's going to use its foot to help it drink. Okay, time to go explore the world. So, decide which way to go. Oh, you want to go that way? Okay. And have a look around at your environment. Make some discoveries. And practice that skill focus and breath. Oh. You can add a little bit of sound for your puppet. Oh no, I think maybe there's something kind of scary in the air. Not sure exactly what that is. What does it look like if your puppet is a little bit afraid? Oh, maybe it's looking around, trying to figure out what it is, and there's nothing there. It's just our imaginations. Maybe a big sigh. And something really cool to see up above. If there are people in your house that are also making their own puppets, perhaps your puppet can discover another puppet. Have a look, meet your neighbor. Maybe they make some kind of a sound when they're saying hello. Hello. Or I don't know if this neighbor is very friendly. All right, we've been on quite a big adventure, so the puppets are starting to feel really tired. And maybe it's a little bit chilly out now. It's getting late. I think it's time for us all to hurry home. My puppet's going to jump home. And jump into bed. Pull up the covers. Oh, very cozy in bed. Let's see what that's like. And after a long, exciting adventure out, the puppets are very tired and they fall fast asleep. The end. Now that you have all of these puppetry skills, focus, weight, breath, looking at your puppet, having emotions, taking it on an adventure with a lot of discoveries and realization, the world is your oyster. You can make up whatever kind of story you like with this puppet while keeping all of those puppetry tools in mind. Have fun!